Man, oh man, oh man, do we have a news video for you. Obviously, we're talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 because what else would we be talking about? Very interesting updates regarding third-party games and the comments that developers said. But before we jump into that news video, I have to ask you guys, we are so close to 18,000 subscribers, can we please hit it by the end of the month? Or at least before I head to New York City, which is actually May 27th. Can we hit it before May 27th? That'd be really great. We've been uploading every single day, Switch 2 videos, just Switch content in general. So we've been working really hard for this moment. If we can make that happen, that'd be great. We're like less than 400 away. We can pull this off, right guys? All right, without further ado, let's jump right into the news. Obviously, it's Tuesday. Well, this is coming out on Wednesday. But every Tuesday morning, they drop a creator's voice. And we knew what today's creator's voice was going to be because Nintendo told us what it was going to be the next coming weeks. They revealed it was going to be Final Fantasy last week, which ended up being the case. And they said that Hyrule Warriors was going to be today's creator's voice, where they were going to talk to Koei Tecmo. That did not happen today for whatever reason. Instead, we got Borderlands 4, and we got everyone's favorite gaming CEO talking in the video. Randy Pitchford. I'm joking. I know a lot of people are going to be mad that I called him everyone's favorite gaming CEO. It's a joke. I'm aware of all the stuff that he says. It is a joke. Do not hate me. It was a joke, okay? It was a joke. Either way, very interesting comments was made regarding the Nintendo Switch 2 and really its power and really a lot about what Borderlands 4 is going to be like on Nintendo Switch 2. But before we jump into that, I'm just very confused why we didn't get the Hyrule Warriors episode today. Kind of weird, kind of random, especially when Nintendo confirmed that we were supposed to be getting that today. But maybe next week will be Hyrule Warriors, we can only hope. But the interesting thing about Borderlands 4 is they talked heavily about the Nintendo Switch 2's power and how they didn't even have to make this a port. This was just a full-on Borderlands 4 game made for Nintendo Switch like all the other visions of the game. They talked about how they were Nintendo fans, and when they had to make Borderlands in the past, it was kind of a challenge because of the hardware that the Nintendo Switch was. But with the Nintendo Switch 2's power and its hardware, it was not anything like that. It was not a challenging thing for them, and they talked heavily of how powerful this system was. They talked about it for a good 2 minutes, and they just kept jumping onto the fact of how powerful this system is. Once again, I think this is great news to see, as Borderlands 4 is a pretty big game to have, as it hasn't even come out on other consoles yet. And I will say it does look like that the Switch 2 version is not coming out the same day as the other platforms, because something that I noticed that on the release date, they just left it as 2025, where the other versions are coming out in September. So hopefully as we get closer to the Switch 2 arriving, the Switch 2 will start having the games, of at least third-party games, come out the same day as all the other consoles. We saw that be a common thing with the Switch 1, where the Switch 1 version would always end up getting delayed. But I guess the good news is we don't have to wait too much longer for Borderlands 4 for Switch 2, because it's coming out at some point in 2025 after, September. So it's not going to be an extremely long delay unless they further delay it. Well, it's not even been officially delayed. I just don't think that Gearbox had the Nintendo Switch 2 development kit for long enough to where they were able to make the game come out with the other platforms day one. I'm hoping either way that this is not going to be a common thing we see happen. And I think the most interesting thing about this whole video is that they confirmed that Borderlands 4 is not even a port. That is super exciting news, especially for third-party games heading over to the Nintendo Switch 2. As you know, we talked about before, if games are ported, a lot of the times they're not ported right and a lot of issues happen. But super exciting to see. I'm very, very interested to see how Borderlands 4 is going to run and look on Switch 2. From the footage that they showed at the creator's voice, it looks really good. Okay, let's talk about the GameCube controller. After weeks and weeks and weeks of waiting for when these pre-orders were going to go live, it has officially gone live on Nintendo's website, and people literally broke the website where people had to wait hours on the website in line to get the GameCube controller. Now, the GameCube controller was live for a few hours, but it sold out once everyone was actually finally able to get into the website after waiting for so long. Hopefully this controller gets restocked pretty often. As of right now, it is a Nintendo Store exclusive online. I was not able to secure a pre-order, but I'm hoping I can get it at the Nintendo New York store when we go over there to film the whole experience. So that's what I'm hoping for. Either way, I was kind of surprised to see that it broke the website. I'm not surprised by the fact that the pre-order sold out. I'm surprised that people had to wait 2 hours on the website to pre-order the system. The servers were crashing. It was an absolute mess. Either way, at least the pre-orders happened, and hopefully it will be an easier item to get as a few weeks go by after it releases for the Nintendo Switch 2. Another exciting thing for the Nintendo Switch 2 that I feel like with the wording that is used here makes it sound like it's more than likely happening, but obviously everyone's been talking about Expedition 33. Now this game recently came out, everyone's praising it, they're calling it the game of the year, and everyone's talking about how this would be the perfect game to be on Nintendo Switch 2. And as right now, there has been no Nintendo Switch 2 version confirmed for the game. And they actually got asked, the developers, about if a Nintendo Switch 2 version was on the way for this game, and this is what they said. Well, at this point, considering the success of the game, it kind of changes everything. So clearly, it's too early to say. But we're kind of in a situation where, let's say there are a lot of opportunities showing up, way too many at once, and we are figuring out what we'll go for and what we won't. But yeah, it's definitely something that could be interesting. So, he doesn't say no to a Nintendo Switch 2 port, but he also doesn't say yes. But he also says that there's been a lot of opportunities showing up to their door. So I feel like one of those opportunities has been a Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game. Some sort of company's probably reached out being like, hey, we'll port it over for you. And this is probably where they're trying to figure out, can they do it themselves? Do they need to hire somebody? There's a lot of logistics going around this game, as it's coming from, I wouldn't say a smaller team, but not as big as some of the other companies out there. So budget-wise, they don't have the millions and millions of dollars that these other game companies have. And obviously the game's doing super well, and like they said in the interview, they're getting hit with so many opportunities. They're just going through each one, figuring out what makes the most sense. I do think that Expedition 33 will come to the Switch 2, as it's the most obvious thing to put onto this platform. It's just a matter of when, and I bet another big if with this game is if they can even get the Nintendo Switch 2 development kit. Reddit has been talking about how the development kits have not been sent out to some developers because they're out of them right now. Nintendo's had to be sending those a lot recently ever since the Switch 2 has been revealed, as there was articles saying that Nintendo was not allowing every third-party developer to get one of these things due to leaks. And now that the system's been officially revealed, we know more information about the system, people have been able to get this stuff, and now, right now, it's just hard to come by. So I feel like this could be happening. Maybe it's already in development and they're just playing it off. But I feel like if the game was coming to the Switch 2, we're probably going to have to wait a year or two from now till it actually releases for the system. Just considering the stuff that I've seen with the Switch 1 and how the whole development cycle worked for that, I feel like it's going to be a similar process, especially if they're trying to make it without being a port or it being a flat-out port. There's a lot of things here, and I doubt the game is already in development for Switch 2. It's just something that they're looking to do most likely. At the very least, I do feel that the opportunity has been presented to them. I hope to get this on the Switch 2 soon, though, because I would really like to play this game, and the only reason why I have not bought it is I feel like it is going to come to the Switch 2, so I might as well just wait till it comes to the system. That way I can play it and make a video on it on the Switch 2 version of the game whenever it comes out. I thought this was interesting. Financial Times are reporting, and I'm putting this as a rumor just because they really don't have anything confirming how they know this, but Financial Times is a website that a lot of people use for this type of stuff. So it's probably true, but let's just say it's a rumor for now, as you know, this could be very much wrong. But they are saying that Nintendo is more than likely spending $338 to manufacture the Switch 2, which is leading towards a very small profit because there's other factors that go into making the system on top of the manufacturer price. So I thought that was very interesting. I know that Double Jump Video Games, obviously they run a store, and in one of their YouTube channel videos, what they do is they talk about stuff that's going around the store. They talked about how through the people they were buying the Switch 2 off, because they're going to be selling the Switch 2 at their store, that the profit margins off of their people that they order stuff from was going to be $4. And they were thinking that that's about how much Nintendo is making off each Nintendo Switch 2 being sold. Now, Nintendo has a history of always profiting when they make these systems, where other companies most of the time lose money when they are making the system because they expect people to buy the games, and that's where that company will make the money back. But this will be the first time Nintendo's really not making much here, which I think is just overall a very interesting thing, and just shows kind of how the times that we're living in right now, with everything being more expensive and all of that. At the very least, I thought it was a very interesting story, and probably one that you guys don't care about, because there's going to be someone in the comments that's probably like, lower the price, but you know, I just thought it was interesting. So it's been found out that Nintendo has been updating a lot of their emulation apps on the Nintendo Switch, where it's like the Super Nintendo Online, the NES Online, that type of stuff. And it's having people wonder why Nintendo's doing that, because it seems like some of the updates are indicating something with controls. And obviously these are retro games, so what else can they do when it comes to controls? Unless you think about it, with the Nintendo Switch 2, they have the mouse controls happening. So there's been a lot of speculation and people wondering if we're soon going to be getting some sort of news from Nintendo where they talk about how mouse controls will be coming to the Super Nintendo, for example, which could indicate something like, I don't know how this could work. I feel like this could work very well now, but maybe Mario Paint is coming to the Nintendo Switch online service, and they're going to advertise that with the mouse controls. I don't know. Either way, it's something very interesting, and I feel like we'll get some sort of news about this probably in the next Nintendo Direct, because a lot of the times these Directs like to have software updates to like the Switch online services, and we'll probably see some sort of announcement regarding brand new games to the online services. And this would be the perfect thing where people would probably go crazy over having mouse controls and Mario Paint onto there. Or maybe it's just something completely different, and Nintendo is going to throw every single one of us off guard, because that's also a normal thing for Nintendo to do. Instead of doing the most obvious thing, they do the thing that no one asked for, and maybe that's what we're getting here. Nintendo showed how to put the microSD card in. I saw people were wondering if maybe it was going to be something like the new 3DS XL, where you actually have to get a screwdriver to unhook the back plate to put the SD card in there. And luckily, you don't have to do any of that. It's going to be exactly in the same spot that it always is with the other systems with the Switch 1. So it's the same type of idea. It might be moved a little bit more to the right of the system, but very least it's going to be something very simple to do, which I know I'm happy about that. I remember the 3DS days. Do you guys remember that, having to use the screwdriver? That was a mess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a mess, but I know when I was like, let's see, when the new 3DS XL came out, that was 2015. So I would have been 11 at that time, because it came out before my birthday. So yeah, I was 11. I'm like, oh, this is stressing me out. So I bet it would be a different scenario now, but at the very least, it's still a simple process, which I'm sure all of us is happy with. And that was about to be everything I had for y'all tonight, until literally a few minutes ago, Universal might have messed up and accidentally leaked what the sequel is going to be for the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It is now being said at their, I think it's an investors meeting of some sort. They're talking about their upcoming releases, and they're talking about the Mario movie, and that comes out next year, obviously. But they didn't call it the Mario movie. They called it the Super Mario World. That is going to be the sequel to the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which I thought was very interesting. Glad to see that happening, and I guess indicates that Yoshi is going to be playing a big role into the movie, which is kind of what we assumed from the credits scene, but I wasn't expecting the movie to be called Super Mario World, to be honest. So overall, very exciting, and I feel like we'll probably be getting more Mario news in terms of the movie in the next few weeks, considering that they've already talked about this. Especially at this point, we're less than a year away from the movie. So we're probably going to get something soon regarding the movie. So definitely stay tuned for that. Guys, that's everything I have for you. Make sure to backslash that subscribe button, like the video, check out the Twitter, check out the Discord server, Instagram, all that good stuff in the description below. Let me know what y'all think of everything we talked about today. I've seen some of y'all start to actually put your thoughts on each story and make like a giant comment. I find that very interesting. I read all the comments, so definitely feel free to do it. I love hearing your guys' takes. I might not necessarily reply to them, but it is read. Don't worry. Guys, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Oh my gosh, it's 11 o'clock and I have to edit this still and do a YouTube short. I'm going to be up till 3 a.m.